Welcome. Welcome to Unity Unitarian Church of St. Paul. I am the Reverend Shay MacKay. I am the Minister of Congregational Care here at Unity, and I use the pronouns she, her. I am joined, I think this is the first Sunday this church year where there's only two of us up here today. Sarah Cledwyn and I are leading worship for you this morning, and we have the wonderful choir and Ahmed doing music. If you have come here seeking to be spiritually nourished, you are welcome here. If you are online joining us, we are so glad that you are here. If this is your very first time here at Unity, you are welcome here. And if you have been coming for decades and decades, you are also welcome here. Whoever you are, whatever brings you into this place, into this space this morning, wherever you are heading, know that here your gifts and wounds are welcome. We hope you find Unity Church to be a place that helps you find and keep your balance, and a community that inspires you to live a loving life of integrity, service, and joy. I want to extend a very special welcome to any visitors we have today. If you are new or new-ish to Unity, there are visitor cards in the pews in front of you, and you can fill one of those out and drop it into the offering basket later in the service. After today's service, finding yourself at Unity, which is our collection of classes for people who are just learning about Unitarian Universalism and Unity, is in the center room. And today's topic is religious education and faith formation for children, youth, and adults. I invite you now, settle into your seats, settle into your spaces, into the places where we are today together. Take a deep breath and center yourself as we enter into worship with the ringing of our bell.
Our call to worship this morning is the poem Because by Rosemary Watola Tromer. So, I can't save the world, can't even save myself, can't wrap my arms around every frightened child, can't foster peace among nations, can't bring love to all who feel unlovable. So, I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, I will practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed all the hungry, and sometimes daunted by a task too big, I tell myself, what's the use of trying? But today, the invitation is clear: to be ridiculously courageous in love, to open the heart like a lilac in May, knowing freeze is possible and opening anyway. To take love seriously, to give love wildly, to race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance, to feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open. To love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. Will you join me with the words in your order of service, with the kindling of the chalice flame? We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth and the warmth of love. You can join us for our opening hymn, Life Calls Us On.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ahmed Ansaldu. I'm Director of Music Ministries, and today you are all part of the choir. So our opening hymn, Life Calls Us On, you'll see an insert in your order of service, but you're not just going to sing it with the piano, like we usually do. The choir is going to do a thing. So that means that, see me over here? I'm going to help you know when to come in and come out. Yes? Can you respond a bit more enthusiastically? Yes? Oh, thank you very much. And at the very end, we're going to repeat the last line a bunch of times until I tell you to stop with my gestures. Are we good? All right, here we go, Jared. And...
Good morning. My name is Charlie Vanek, and I'm a longtime member of this church. But today, I give my testimony as a representative of the Development Ministry Team. The Development Ministry Team exists to help Unity Church-Unitarian raise money to support the realization of the church's mission and ends and strengthen the systems that enable us to raise and use money effectively. Those are the first few sentences of our charter. We're a small group formed about a year ago, and there are 7 of us on the team, and we are led by Laura Park, Unity's executive director, and our liaison to the executive team. Over the last several months, we on the DMT have been having discussions with themes similar to those that have been presented in church during our Pledge Month drive. One theme is, how should the church invest money in accounts like the Courier Fund, a fund we heard about during last week's sermon, bequeathed by a member of this church and set up to promote racial justice? As the board discusses the best way to grant these funds, we on the DMT have been discussing how to make sure that we're investing the remaining monies in alignment with our policies, values, and most importantly, the moral owners of this church. Here's the second theme. As Reverend Dr. Oscar has been asking himself, why do people go to church? We have a parallel conversation going on in the DMT. Why do people give money to the church? We've had some preliminary interviews to get us started on figuring that out, but at least in my interviews, 2 things stand out. The church and Unitarianism are significant factors in people's lives, and they want that to continue for present and future generations. Another topic we discuss: how do we encourage generosity without appealing to explicit quid pro quo messaging? That is, how do we invite the congregation to give out of a sense of joy for ourselves, for our commitments to each other, and for the church? How can we encourage being yoked to joy through pledges? And certainly this last one resonates with me. My family and I have been tremendously benefited from being members here. Our direct benefits are numerous, but we're most grateful for our kids going through religious education, and more urgently, when our son had his 3rd cancer relapse, Unity coordinated with All Souls New York City to stay at a parishioner's apartment on the Upper East Side while our son was hospitalized awaiting surgery at Sloan Kettering. He's fine, by the way. He's 26 now and he's thriving. Just had to mention that. So even though our direct benefits are both dramatic and too numerous to mention, we give primarily because Unity takes seriously the mission to help us lead lives of integrity, service, and joy, and thereby make the world a better place. This church encourages us to find something meaningful, a ministry, if you will, embrace it with a sense of joy, and to perform that service for those within, among, and beyond these walls. We have a broad definition of what that ministry of service could be. Service could be serving coffee in the parish hall. It could be volunteering to teach our youth on Sundays, or it could be joining a community outreach team. These teams are important and formed and energized in response to changes in the world. One of these outreach teams, the Sanctuary Justice Team, has recently expanded in light of dramatic changes in the immigration policies of the current administration. We have congregational care ministries with dozens of Unity volunteers to help members of this church in their time of need, led by our celebrant today, Reverend Shay MacKay. This is important work that your donations to Unity support, directly benefiting the world and providing a platform for congregants to commit to meaningful service. A former minister of ours called it holy work. And you don't have to do it alone. Just last week, we had a great example of Unity's institutional commitment to supporting your fellow congregants in their spiritual quest to serve. Our offering was for Unity's Peace and Justice Scholarship, which was formed to honor a former staff member and current congregant, Pan Half, and her 12 years of dedicated coordination and support of Unity's community outreach teams. But this church doesn't just encourage, it inspires, supports, and communicates the good works of those ministries so that others may be inspired. And if you can't tell, I'm one of those people who are inspired by all you who participate and donate to these ministry teams. That's why we give. And so to answer the question Reverend Dr. Oscar posed 2 weeks ago, yes, Jen and I are increasing our amount of pledge next year. I hope you too have the capacity to increase your pledge. The church, our neighborhood, and the world are in greater need these days. But I understand the emotional and economic pressures of the day. We're getting close to emergency conditions, so much so that I'm reminded of the instructions I hear on an airplane before takeoff. It starts in the event of a sudden loss in cabin pressure and concludes with something extremely relevant in these trying times. Be sure to secure your own mask before assisting others. Thank you.
Each time we gather for worship, we set aside a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. We gather here together, trusting that this community is wide enough and deep enough to hold us in both our sorrow and our joy, in our challenges and our celebrations. Together, we recognize the cycle of life and death, the circle of love, compassion, and witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. In our community today, we are asked to keep longtime member Virginia Lanegren, who is the aunt of Becky Gonzalez Campoy, in our thoughts as she recovers from pneumonia at Regions Hospital. Becky says she seems to be doing fine and will welcome cards. And we celebrate with Ken and Ellen Green as last week their daughter Nora Ray was inducted into the Central High School C Club Hall of Fame. I also want to take a moment to recognize all of you, all of those who showed up yesterday in multiple ways, in multiple places, with many varied voices at the No Kings rally. I believe there were about 7 million people nationwide who showed up. With 2,600 rallying points in all 50 states. So, good job, we did good. We stand at the side of all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children, with those who live with mental illness, with grief or chronic pain, or with addiction. We pray for our neighbors in prison, for those in harm's way, for those who are struggling to stay afloat, and we support those who rise above heartbreak to carry on the work of ending oppression in all of its forms. We celebrate today and every day in joy with all who come through those doors with joy in their hearts. This is a house of joy, and laughter is the sound of a thriving community. And we also grieve. We grieve for the layers of loss, anger, and fear that are present in all parts of our lives and our world. And now I invite you to open your embrace, speak whatever your heart is holding this morning into this shared community silence. For all that we hold within, among, and beyond ourselves, let us now take a moment of meditation and silence together. For our prayer today, I'm going to lead you in something called square breathing or box breathing. After the adrenaline and endorphins and oxytocin of yesterday and the beautiful fall weather and having our lives be fast and furious all the time, it is very important, as Sarah and I will talk about throughout this service, to slow down, to take a moment to just breathe. Square breathing is a technique that can be used to reset your nervous system. All it takes is like a minute to settle, to calm, to reset your body, your nervous system. This is how it works. We breathe in for a count of 4, we hold it for a count of 4, we breathe out for a count of 4, and then we pause for a count of 4, and that's our square. I will count our 4s on my fingers, and we'll do this a few times together. So if you will please make yourselves comfortable, and let us do this as prayer today. So we breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, exhale, and pause. Inhale, hold, exhale, and pause. One more time. Inhale, hold, exhale, and pause. Amen. Now please join me in our hymn, Spirit of Life.
Our movement extends beyond the walls of this church to partners with whom we share a common interest. Each week, the larger portion of our offering goes to these community partners. This week, our offering supports the Pacham in Terrace Hermitage. Pacham in Terrace Hermitage Retreat Center provides solitary and silent retreats for anyone who reaches out to them. I personally have stayed in their hermitages, and it is quite a wonderful experience. Founded in the Franciscan tradition, Pacem in Terris is an ecumenical in its scope and practice. The grounds offer many miles of carefully groomed trails and 23 individual hermitages where participants surrender to the silence and the abundance of natural beauty, slip into wonder, renewal, and reflection. Pacem exists on donations, and this collection will support the ongoing recovery from a 2024 tornado devastation. Will the ushers please come forward? We know that when we lead lives of integrity, service, and joy, generosity is sure to follow. Please give as generously as you're able.
Morning. So the music ministry has a couple of big projects this year. We're working on a big cantata called St. Nicholas by Benjamin Britten, and another cantata called Considering Matthew Shepard that we'll be doing for this year's big music Sunday in the spring. And we've been doing a few movements of it throughout the fall. So you've heard a couple now from Unity Choir, Unity Singers. So this morning we're going to do a movement called the Innocence. Considering Matthew Shepard is a piece that is about the murder of Matthew Shepard, a teenager killed in Wyoming for being gay. And it is modeled after the Passion story in many ways. And this movement, the Innocence, is a moment of doubt and despair. It really asks the questions, has the world always been this broken? And I just failed to see it. And what can we do?
When I think of all the times the world was ours for dreaming, when I think of all the times the earth seemed like our home, every heart alive with its own longing, every future we could ever hope to hold. All the time our laughter rang in summer, all the times the rivers sang our tune. Was there already sadness in the sunlight? Some stormy story waiting to be told? Where, oh, where has the innocence gone? Where, oh, where has it gone? Rains rolling down wash away my memory. Where, oh, where has it gone? When I think of all the joys, the wonders we remember, all the treasures we believed we'd never ever lose, too many days gone by without their meaning, too many darkened hours without their peace. Where, oh, where has the innocence gone? Where, oh, where has it gone? Vows we once swore, now it's just this letting go. Where, oh, where has it gone? Where, oh, where has the innocence gone? Where, oh, where has it gone? Rains memory. Where, oh, where has it gone?
I believe in living. I believe in the spectrum of beta days and gamma people. I believe in sunshine, in windmills and waterfalls, tricycles and rocking chairs. And I believe that seeds grow to sprouts, and sprouts grow into trees. I believe in the magic of the hands and in the wisdom of the eyes. I believe in rain and tears and in the blood of infinity.
I believe in life, and I have seen the death parade march through the torso of the earth, sculpting mud bodies in its path. I've seen the destruction of the daylight and seen bloodthirsty maggots prayed to and saluted.
I have seen the kind become the blind and the blind become the bind in one easy lesson. I have walked on cut glass. I have eaten crow and blunderbread and breathed the stench of indifference.
I have been locked by the lawless, handcuffed by the haters, gagged by the greedy. And if I know anything at all, it's that a wall is just a wall, and nothing more at all. It can be broken down.
I believe in living. I believe in birth. I believe in the sweat of love and the fire of truth.
And I believe that a lost ship, steered by tired and seasick sailors, can still be guided home to port.
These words, this poem called Affirmation, was written by Black activist Assata Shakur while she was living in exile in Cuba. Assata was a Black Panther and Black Liberation Army activist in the 1960s and 70s. She was eventually charged with multiple crimes, including murder of a police officer, and spent 6.5 years in prison under brutal circumstances. She escaped in the late 1970s out of prison and fled, eventually ending up in Cuba in exile, where she lived for the rest of her life until 1 month ago when she died. In her own words, Assata wrote this: "My name is Assata, meaning she who struggles. Olugbala, meaning for the people. Shakur, meaning the thankful one. And I am a 20th century escaped slave. Because of government persecution, I was left with no other choice than to flee from the political repression, racism, and violence that dominate the U.S. government's policy towards people of color." She says, "It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains." Assata chose to flee, to run, to escape, to leave, and to go into exile, not because she wanted to simply save herself, but because her choosing to run was an act of resistance. She chose to flee so that she could continue her work from afar, so that she could continue writing, continue her activism work, continuing to be an inspiration and a call to action for all of those of us still here. She chose to go away as an act of resistance. Not all of us can make that choice. I was with a group of female-identified queer clergy last week for 4 days in Texas, and we were basically there to have fun, to get to know each other and to learn how to preach better. But so many of our conversations, especially among the Black queer clergy and the queer clergy of color, was, do you have an exit plan in place? I have a colleague who, when he meets with the important and valuable people in his life, now asks them, would you house me in your basement if necessary? Some of us can flee. Some of us do have the privilege of being able to get away, to go to someplace safe, to continue our work there. But most of us don't. For whatever reason, we will stay here, we will stay in this place together, and we will do our acts of resistance here together. And one way we do that is by allowing ourselves, giving ourselves the permission to breathe, to rest. If we cannot flee, if we cannot remove ourselves physically from danger, from stress and anxiety, from all of what our society holds, our lives hold right now, we can at least give ourselves a Sabbath, a moment to recoup, a moment to replenish, a moment to center and focus and remember who we are and why we are here. Walter Brueggemann, the theologian, says, when taken seriously in faith, Sabbath keeping is a way of making a statement of identity amid a larger public identity, of maintaining and enacting a counter identity that refuses mainstream, the hustle and the bustle and the stress and the anger and the hate. He says, if we understand Sabbath in this way, it becomes a bodily act of testimony to alternative ways of being, and a bodily act of resistance to pervading values and the assumptions behind those values. So many of you put your bodies out yesterday. 7 million people put their bodies out yesterday. And now, today, for all of us, we are here to give our bodies a rest, to take that Sabbath, to replenish ourselves so that the next time we are called again to speak, to put our bodies out, to resist, we can. Has the world always been this broken, and what can we do? We can breathe. We can rest. And we can use those as acts of resistance and testimony with our bodies to speak against the world that we do not want to live in and for the world we do.
In times like these, I speak with many folks who share and express a deep sense of guilt and unease with the idea of enjoying themselves. How can I enjoy myself when the world is on fire, they say. I'll enjoy myself later when this is done, when my work is done. They look at the whole impossible world and they just really want to solve it. What can I do? How can I fix this? How can I make it better? We think maybe if we add to our list, then someday we'll get to take a break. But who was it that taught us that to enjoy our life is only a luxury to be experienced when all the problems are solved? Who taught us that joy is inappropriate in a world as messy as this one? It's worth asking these questions, especially in times like these. Do we dare to love this life? Do we dare to love it thoroughly enough to enjoy it, to give thanks for it, to savor its splendor, to insist on joy as a human right? What does it feel like to wonder? I'm not immune to this subtle sense that all is not well and I should get my work done before I play, that somehow I'm responsible for everything that has gone wrong. But who does that benefit? I can still shut down my joy for no good reason and spend a perfectly glorious day fretting and focusing on all that I did not get done. I notice that when I center that unease and hold myself accountable to the impossible task of completion of all lists, I'm not a very pleasant human. In fact, on a day when I have deferred joy, I'm tired and sometimes grumpy mom, friend, teacher, neighbor, and no wonder. It's like being deficient in an essential nutrient. But this kind of centering is a choice if we're aware. One of the more radical ways I've played with joy is by honoring rest. It feels a little scandalous, but sometimes I just take a nap, like on a weekday even. Now, not everyone is a nap person, but I love them. To take a nap in the middle of the day, even better when you're not sick at all, or even run down, but just that it would feel so good to lay down and you let yourself. And it's so comfortable to drift into open space. And it's so refreshing to slip in and out as much as you can or you want to. And to slowly come back, to rise, to stretch, and emerge back into the day. It doesn't work if you're worried about what you aren't getting done. And it's not the same as a 20-minute power nap. To enjoy a nap is to create space. For me, it is to center joy, at least for a time. I first heard about Tricia Hershey one day on NPR as I was driving somewhere. I caught the end of a story where they were talking about a woman as being a nap bishop. She was advocating napping as a form of resistance, and I had to learn more. Her first book, Rest as Resistance, is a stunning read. She says, I began experimenting with rest as a tool for my own liberation and healing in 2013. It has always been about more than taking a full nap. My rest as a Black woman in America, suffering from generational exhaustion and racial trauma, always was a political refusal and a social justice uprising in my body. I took to rest and naps and slowing down as a way to save my life, resist the systems telling me what to do, and more importantly, as a remembrance to my ancestors who had their dream space stolen from them. This is about more than naps. It's not about fluffy pillows, expensive sheets, silk sleep masks, or other external, frivolous, consumerist gimmicks. It is about a deep unraveling from white supremacy and capitalism. These two systems are violent and evil. History tells us this, and our present living shows this. Rest pushes back and disrupts a system that views human bodies as a tool for production and labor. It is a counter-narrative. We know that we're not machines. we're divine. Naps as political refusal. And this woman takes rest seriously. She regularly takes at least a month off a year for work, totally off, totally unplugged. What would it be like if we lived in her world? What if we gave ourselves such permission? What if the world gave us such permission? She's devoted herself to creating a world where rest is valued, honored, and enjoyed. She frequently says that she refuses to give her body to a system that is designed to harm it. She refuses. We don't have to take such a radical stance to yoke ourselves to joy. We can start small and really enjoy some small pleasure as an act of restoration, guilt-free, full on. What if we let ourselves really enjoy our life to the fullest, not as a form of ignorance about the pain of the world, but as a statement that the world and our very own selves are worth it? To choose love in spite of everything, and in that choice, to give less credence to what's wrong. If we look closely, maybe it's just a wall. I know that when I center love, when I put it first, when I rest and play and work and enjoy, in that balance, I am a more generous mom, friend, teacher, neighbor. Of course I would be. And from this place, I am more creative and nimble in the work these times call me to. And when we come together like this, we can create better and better ways to care for one another. Together, we can insist on living into the full expression of love, to make room for a fullness of life for ourselves and for others. So we're going to do a practice together. You've got your nervous system regulation breathing now down, but now we're just going to do some joy breathing, which is just the sense that here it is with us all the time. So just let yourself know you're breathing. The Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh has a mindfulness meditation. He says, as I breathe in, I know I'm breathing in. Feel that fully. And as I breathe out, I know I'm breathing out. What does it feel like to breathe? It feels kind of good, doesn't it? What if we take a breath that's big enough that even the intercostal muscles in between our ribs stretch just a little, and we let it out. The pleasure of that movement, the joy that here we are breathing together. And what we don't think of, that breath is an act of unconditional love by all the green things of the world. And our exhale is unconditional love right back into those systems of life, just with our breath. What does it feel like to just feel how good it feels to breathe? At any moment, friends, you have access to this practice, to set aside all that's wrong, all that's left undone, and to just take a moment to recenter, to enjoy, to savor this spectacular life we get to live. May it be so.
If you read the little blurb about today's service, you're finally going to find out where the book Active Hope comes in to today's service. The book Active Hope by Joanna, Macy, and Chris Johnstone. I know a lot of people here have read this book. I know the Act for the Earth team is doing a whole bunch of work around the work that reconnects and the Active Hope Spiral and all of what they put forth in that book. If you want to know more of how to get involved in that, please check out the Act for the Earth team's table in the parish hall. But in that book, they speak of the cost of speed. The cost of this hustle and bustle life that we live, the capitalism, the colonialism, the white supremacy, the cost of constantly going, keeping our bodies and our minds and our hearts on high alert. This chronic hurry exacts a heavy toll on our bodies and spirits, they say, on our relationships, on our jobs, on our families, on our homes. This chronic hurry narrows our field of vision. Do you notice that when you're going, when you're, as Sarah said, solely focused on the to-do list and the what do I need to get done list? That's all you can see, right? Our vision narrows into the immediate moment rather than allowing us to be aware of the context in relation to past and future and our connection to all the world and life around us. Now, I know this can be confusing because we ministers like to stand up here and say, be present in the moment. Don't let this present moment pass you by. But this is different. This is different. If we're too rigid, if we're too narrow and focused, we're not going to be nimble. We're not going to be able to respond to what's happening around us. We're not going to be able to be creative in how we live our lives and how we move forward and how we think about the past. If we are unable to bend and adapt, just like a tree, we'll topple right over. Joanna Macy says we are more effective when we act from our enthusiasm and hope and from a restful place, a joyful place, rather than an anxious, heightened place. Active hope is about becoming active participants in bringing about what we hope for. It is a practice. It is about learning to expand ourselves and our awareness, becoming adaptable and fluid in how we view time and the world around us. It is about connection and reconnection and learning to recognize the resilience and creative power of life itself. And none of that is possible if we don't give ourselves moments of rest. To refocus, to gain perspective, to replenish our bodies and our spirits and our hearts. At the end of their book, Macy and Johnstone focus on the 3 acts of opening into active hope. This is the beginning of the pathway. Opening our eyes, opening to synergy, and opening to life acting through us into the world. Number 1, opening our eyes. The act of slowing down, taking that Sabbath, taking that nap, taking those breaths, opening our eyes and expressing gratitude and awe. As Assata Shakur said in her poem, yes, I have seen horrible things. I have seen horrible things. I have been locked up by the lawless. And yet, and still, I believe in life, in birth, in love, in truth. Take a breath. Give yourself rest. And just be. And in that being, our eyes will open. And we will begin to see the beauty in the world again, the reconnected, the interconnected web of life of which we are a part, and we will begin to be able to see a way forward. The second act is opening to synergy. They say synergy is an expression of power with. An expression of power with. It is a creative power of collaboration. This is the moment in this October Sunday sermon where we talk about the plow and the yoke. That is right here behind me. Synergy is an expression of power with. It is a yoking and a pulling and a plowing of the soil of possibility that we do together. Synergy happens with different elements when different people act together to achieve something more than they could achieve alone. 7 million people gathered yesterday in synergy. To accomplish something together more than they could accomplish alone. When we yoke ourselves to joy, to the work of anti-oppression, to the work of ending capitalism and colonialism and white supremacy and sexism and all of those things, when we yoke ourselves to a plow and to each other, we create synergy, and synergy is power. And number 3, Act 3 is opening to life acting through us. Macy and Johnstone talk about this as bodhicitta. In Buddhism, it is the deep desire to act for the welfare of all beings. It is grounded in our conscious connectedness with all of life. It is choosing that connectedness, recognizing, reconnecting. It is the journey of opening to shift from being separate to recognizing ourselves as part of a bigger whole, a larger team. They talk about teamwork, that we must share the work. Each of us plays a specific part, a specific role, and together we can accomplish great things. And life, the beautiful, creative, and powerful force of life will act through us when we do this. When I think of this third act, this act of life acting through us, I think of singing in the choir, our beautiful choir that has been singing for us today. Each voice vital, each voice essential to the whole. Without the altos, the harmony, the chord would not work. Without the tenors, we would be missing something. Without the sopranos and the baritones and the basses and the piano, it just would not come together. It is in this teamwork, it is in this beauty of synergy, of rest, of hope, and of choosing to live that we can move forward and make a difference. Let us now sing together. We are going to sing, sing, sing. All of our voices are essential. Everything we sing together.
You don't need your hymnal. You just need to sit down and notice what your feet feel like on the floor. And you can notice how it feels to sort of stop squirming and just feel the weight of your body on the pew and the feel of the pew on your back. And you're all going to take notice of what your breathing feels like. And right now you're all a choir. More than one person singing together as a choir, okay? And you're just going to pay attention to the people around you. And you're going to sing with me. Breathe in, breathe out. Are you just going to keep that going? Folks over here, breathe in, breathe out, breathe. I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. You can face this way if you'd like. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, everyone, breathe in, breathe out, Thank you, everyone.
The greatest sin that we can commit is to stop believing in life. And the greatest act of resistance and hope is to keep breathing in peace and breathing out love. As you go out today and into the world, back into this beautiful day, I invite you to consider what acts of bodily resistance and testimony you can do for brief moments in your life, in your day, in your home, in your work, and community. What does an act of bodily resistance and testimony look like for you? And I highly encourage you to go take a nap. I'm gonna. Go in peace, everyone. Amen.